Our mission statement is to inspire our associates, thrill our guests, and enrich our community. And the reason Inspire Associates comes first is because without our team, nothing else can happen.
Welcome to Salt Lake Local, the podcast where we highlight the best of Salt Lake City, its businesses, restaurants, and the people who make it all happen. Today, we're talking about what it takes to build a standout hospitality brand and create dining experiences that truly connect with the community. My guest today is Brooks Kirchheimer, co-founder of Hilltop Hospitality, the group behind Hearth and Hill, Hill's Kitchen, and Urban Hill. With experience in fine dining across the country and a passion for people, Brooks is raising the bar for what dining in Utah can be, blending thoughtful service, bold flavors, and community-driven concepts that leave a lasting impression.
Well, Brooks, thank you so much for doing this today and being on the podcast.
Of course.
We're here in your most recent restaurant opening, Hearth and Hill Sugar House.
Yeah.
You guys just opened last week, right?
Brand new. Yeah, we're not even a week in. So yeah, beautiful space here in Sugar House. We're excited to be here.
Well, congratulations
Thank
on the
you.
opening. It is a beautiful space. I'm sure in some of the video and photos we have at the top of the episode, people will really appreciate the space and the way it feels for them.
Yeah, we're really lucky to have a truly award-winning, terrific architect design firm out of Denver, Colorado. They've now done all of our restaurants except for our original up in Park City, Hearth and Hill. So 4 of our 5 have been designed and architected by Sybil Brown. They do an amazing job. And so here in Sugar House, we really wanted to incorporate some elements of the restaurant in Park City, but then also have its own feel.
Sure.
We really love high ceilings, and so we get to incorporate that both in Park City as well as the one here. And also there's some low ceilings or different dimensions, as well as some of the table heights. They do a really great job of just making the space feel like a home, but also a very welcoming commercial space as well. We're about 6,300 square feet here. A quick story about this. The whole story about us here is we signed a lease here almost 4 years ago, and then in October of 2022, I think it was October 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, or roughly that week. In the morning, we got our building permit and our liquor license. Very excited. Here we go. We're going to start building in a couple weeks. And then that night, I was laying in bed about to go to sleep after staying up late to get some work done, and got a text message from one of our landlords here that the building was on fire. So I think it started about 5 or 6 floors above where we're sitting right now, and it burned for about 7 days, one of the largest fires in Salt Lake City history. So the bottom 3 floors of this building are the podium, as they would call it, are concrete. The top 5 floors are wood. And so all the wood they had to scrape down.
That big apartment fire.
Yes, exactly.
I got the news story in my head.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So once the fire stopped, then they, after the inspections, everything else, they tore down the 5 floors, which were basically done being built. They were just working on all the interiors at that point. 180 apartments, scraped them all, and have rebuilt them over the last 2+ years. And about a month after that fire, we had a call with our landlords, and they said, "Hey, we get it. You guys probably want to walk away from the lease. The lease says you can." And we said, "No, we're all in." We had zero hesitation that we have your back, and you have our back, and that's just how partnerships work. And here we are. So we're excited. And about a year and a half ago, they reached out to us and said, "Hey, would you be willing to add another Hill's Kitchen, which is our coffee bakery concept from Park City, right next door here in the same building?" And we said, after some back and forth, we eventually said yes. And so here we are. So this is our 4th restaurant, and Hill's Kitchen will be our 5th.
Cool. Great location. It's close to everything downtown here. And how was the opening last week? I'm sure it was just a whirlwind, things going on, but great first week here in this space?
Yeah, terrific first week. I think this is a unique one for us because it took 4 years for it to really come to fruition or thereabout. Mm-hmm. I think there was a lot of emotions, a lot of relief, a lot of like, wow, we finally did it.
Because how long would it have taken without that delay?
Yeah, so if we had started construction, theoretically, we probably would have started about November. I think we probably would have been finished April, May of 2023.
Okay,
so we're
2 years.
Just under 2 years delayed.
Yeah.
So that,
it takes some time. Because it was almost done in 2023 is
correct.
What I understand from that.
Yep.
So it took another 2 years to get there.
Yeah, and so the good news is that we're in the middle of construction on our Urban Hill restaurant, our 3rd restaurant, our higher end one, and more downtown. And so we're all able to say, all right, let's just focus on getting that one open. It's a good distraction from what just happened here. And, our mentality with what happened is just life happens. It's not actually the first situation we've had. We've had another fire in Park City. We had a lady drive into our Hill's Kitchen in Park City just over a year ago on Valentine's Day in 2024. And we never even closed that day. We had over $100,000 worth of damage. We, did the work over 3 months. So in this industry, you just have the mentality of solution-minded. Just, all right, it happened. How do we move on? How do we fix it? And how do we make sure
the only guarantee is that something will happen.
Yes.
And being solution-oriented.
Yeah, because as we tell our team on a daily basis, a lot of challenges that come our way is, you can stomp up and down, throw a temper tantrum, but what is that going to do?
Totally.
What is it going to add to the situation? It's not going to make it worse. So let's make it better. Especially in my role now with so many moving parts, my days are so limited and my time is so, priceless, if you will, and, going in so many different directions. And so if we can, just find a solution and move on, it's better for everybody.
Yeah. Literal fires.
Yes.
And figurative fires. You're the firefighter.
I joke that in my next life, I'm going to come back as a business, fire, water, whatever consultant. Things happen to your business, I can help you get through it. But
good.
Yeah, it's been fun, and we've got a great team here. Our executive chef, Jeff Moore, our general manager, Elizabeth Walters, who's got a fun story. Elizabeth and I lived in Hawaii from 2015 to 2017. We moved there for my wife's job at the Montage in Maui. I worked at a restaurant group next door called Merriman's. I met Elizabeth working there. We stayed in touch, and about a year ago, we started thinking, all right, we're going to need a general manager here, and there was no one internal at the time that was going to be the right fit for the job. And I called her up, and I said, hey, any interest? And it was a pretty quick yes. It was like, yeah, actually, I've been thinking about leaving Hawaii. She'd been there for about 8.5 years. She originally from Indiana. And just a cool story that you just never know how relationships, of people that you meet along the way and will end up, and how they may come back into your life and play a huge role, as Elizabeth has here. And we're really lucky and excited to have her as a big superstar in our company.
Totally. Relationships are probably a huge, especially with that many locations, ensuring you have the right team.
Yep.
Between each location, and then Hilltop Hospitality is your parent company.
Correct.
That owns all of them.
Yep.
And making sure that you have the right execurougve team there as well.
Oh yeah. No, it's huge. We'll have, once Hill's Kitchen opens, we'll have roughly 300 associates. We call them associates, not employees, throughout the company.
That's a large company.
Yeah, it's big, and about 40 of those are salaried managers, directors, and so it's a lot of moving parts on a regular basis.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, and fairly quick growth too.
6.5 years, roughly. Yeah,
300 associates in 6.5 years.
Yeah, it's I tell people all the time, my dad and I, we're the only owners, no investors. We feel that pressure every day of living up to being the best employers that we can be. And, as they say, pressure is a privilege. And we certainly believe that, our mission statement is to inspire our associates, thrill our guests, and enrich our community. And the reason Inspire Associates comes first is because without our team, nothing else can happen, So we do everything we can to support them. Since day one, we've offered full health insurance, a 401k program with a 5% match. We do free family meal, employee meal every single day across all of our properties. We do a cash bonus at the end of the year for all of our hourly associates. The longer they've been with us, the more they get. PTO for all of our salaried managers. Get the best equipment we can. All of our restaurants are new builds, so we don't take over existing buildings. So all brand new equipment, state of the art, and we fix things right away. Listen to them, so on and so forth. So yeah, we're big believers in. Someone said this the other day that our associates are like our guests, right? As an ownership group, and so how do we treat them the best we can every day? And my dad told me early in my career when I had a choice, another restaurant group wanted me to come over and be their GM, and I was very happy at the time at the job I was at. And he said, "Where do you want to wake up in the morning and drive to?" And I wanted to stay at where I was, and so that's what I tell our team here is our goal is that when people wake up in the morning to come to work or in the afternoon, in our industry, servers, cooks sometimes can sleep in late if they work late. Are they happy to come into work?
Totally.
And what can we do? And people are human, so it's not going to be 100% of the time. Stuff happens, but majority of the time, what can we do to set them up for success and make them happy and want to be here? And I think we've done a pretty good job. We've got some long tenured associates. 2 of our 5 general managers are about to celebrate 4 years with us.
I met several of your team.
Yeah.
They're all awesome, by the way. Just
Thank you.
Their personalities, their energy, just is really a pleasure to me. I don't know, probably 3 or 4 on the way in here.
Yeah, we've got a great team, and one of the things we do is on all of our name tags across the company. This is having worked in hotels. Is we listed our hometown. Cool. Conversation starter, but also we're really proud of the diversity and different backgrounds that our team has. I think now in our management team we've got about roughly 24 states represented out of our roughly 40 managers. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool to hear different people's backgrounds and where they're coming from, and hear their stories.
With your background, one thing that I was reading online is you grew up playing diner with your siblings. And I was curious if that's where you got that restaurant bug kind of bit you.
Yeah. So the story goes, when I was 7 years old, I asked for a cash register for Christmas so I could play pretend restaurant with my 2 sisters, one older, one younger. They were nice enough to oblige. And from then, it was just, I grew up in Los Angeles, worked at I got really lucky the minute I turned 15, which was right around September 11th. I worked for a mom and pop cafe in my hometown of La Cañada, California, and worked for her on and off for upwards of 6 years. I went to hotel, restaurant, tourism management school at the University of Denver in Colorado. And I either wanted to do that or sports broadcasting. Sports broadcasting, a little bit tougher to get into, not as easier of an entry mark as restaurants are. And
not that restaurants are an easy in either.
Yes, no. But yeah, then I opened the Montage Hotel in Beverly Hills, which is, the only Montage that's no longer a Montage, it's now a Mayborn. Then opened the Montage here in Deer Valley. I grew up skiing here in Utah, so wanted to make the transition out and come out here and live here full time. And then met my now wife working at the Montage, and I went and became the general manager at Robert Redford's Zoom restaurant that used to be on Main Street in Park City for 2.5 years. And then we were ready to take a break from Park City and move to Maui for 2 years for her job, and had a great time there, but always considered Park City our home. And my dad retired from the financial industry and started looking at restaurants that were for sale in Park City. And long story short, we eventually said, no, I think there's an article, one of the earlier articles that said, instead of taking on someone else's mess, let's start our own mess. And so here we are.
No, that's very cool. And that a great history. I mean, was there ever any point, because it seems like from a very young age, this is the industry you've wanted to be in.
Yeah.
You did your job in there, you went to school for that. Was there at any point somebody that tried to dissuade you from pursuing a career in the restaurant business?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I remember filling out college applications with my mom and even with our college counselor in high school, and she's like, wow, you're one of the easy ones because you already know what you want to do. A lot of kids have no idea and go off to college with, a thought, but no true concrete.
Yeah.
And I knew it was either sports broadcasting or restaurants. That was it, period. And so no one ever really tried to dissuade me. I mean, I think people were pretty open. Plus the restaurant industry hits you right in the face. There's no, hiding from what happens on a regular basis and the challenges that you go through. But no, I love it. I love the, I think one of the great things that I love about our industry is the people that you get to meet every day, in particular our team members. And, as you could tell from the benefits we offer, we care deeply about our team members, and, a lot of them go through challenges on a regular basis. And so how can we play a part in helping them get through those challenges the best they can?
Yeah.
Whether that's financially, whether that's providing resources, whether that's just a simple thank you or a goodwill card or whatever it might be in the car, in the mail. I think
it's a people business.
It's a people business
all the way around.
And same with our guests. I think that was really an eye-opener for me when I moved to Hawaii. And you see, a wedding almost every single day. The restaurant I worked at, Merriman's, was right on the water, so beautiful property, special events every day. But also the other side of it, where you have people that literally have saved up their entire lives to come to Hawaii once. Like, that's all. And here I am living. Other people that would come to our restaurant, lived in LA, that would literally come out like every other month to come to Hawaii, and here these people are from wherever coming to Hawaii once for their entire life, getting to see this beautiful place. And so I would tell our team there in Hawaii, like, that's a lot of pressure to provide a meal to these people, these guests, and we got one shot to get it right.
Get that experience.
Exactly.
To be memorable for them forever.
Yes. And so in our restaurants as well, every day we're celebrating anniversaries, birthdays, graduations, new jobs, old jobs, new friendships, old friendships. It's really awesome to be part of these special moments in people's lives. I think our record up in Hearth and Hill in Park City is 8 hours for someone to sit a couple friends. Yep,
wow.
catching up.
Wow.
Exactly. So
that's the vibe that you want to create for these people.
100%. Yeah, we've had managers, we've had designers that have said, "Oh, you should have uncomfortable chairs so people, don't sit for too long." And we said, "No, that's
swapping
not
out
who we
every
are."
hour.
Yes, no. We said we want people to enjoy their time here. We don't want people to be uncomfortable the whole time that they're enjoying an experience with us. So no, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, creates an experience where they want to come back again and again.
Yes.
Or if it's a one-time thing, that it's memorable and they talk about it in the future, I would imagine.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
With your experience managing these other restaurants in several other states, with that experience, how did that influence the creation of what you've now built with Hilltop Hospitality?
Yeah, good question. We're big believers in networking, but also learning from others. Mm-hmm. So it cuts down some of the mistakes you make. But we also have some really talented people in our industry across the world and in our country. And so, my dad and I did research trips to Arizona, LA, Chicago, and met with some of the top restaurateurs in the country to kind of pick their brains, Phoenix. And so that was part of it. But honestly, Hearth and Hill was someone inspired by, the restaurant group I worked for in Hawaii, Merriman's. They had a sister restaurant called Monkey Pod, a little bit more casual. And so, there was some inspiration from that. But from all different. And at the end of the day, we opened Hearth and Hill in Park City in Kimball Junction, which we knew was a little bit of a risk because everybody in Park City is like, oh, everything's on Main Street.
Sure.
So to be in Kimball Junction, we thought, okay. But we really wanted to be where the locals were. Having just come from Hawaii at the time, where, at Merriman's, our high-end restaurant, we maybe had 5% of our guests as locals. The 95% was tourists there. And so fresh off of that, we really wanted to say, all right, how do we make a place that the locals want to be? They feel welcome, they feel respected, approachable pricing, year round, everything else in between. And so we call ourselves a gathering spot. We want to be a gathering spot for the community, and then the visitors would follow after that. And we feel like we accomplished that. And with that, we achieved lower rents than what we would have paid on Main Street.
Sure.
Free parking. You don't get out on Main Street. Easier to access from Salt Lake.
A whole parking garage.
Exactly.
If you're trying to pull off to the side somewhere,
it's
always a hassle no matter what.
And we've learned in Kimball Junction that over half of our associates come from Salt Lake City. So if we were on Main Street, it would have been a much more challenging situation because that's a minimum 15 minutes each way from the exit of Kimball Junction to Main Street, and then to find parking somewhere, pay for parking probably, walk to a while to get to your restaurant. Where with us, you literally just walk up stairs or the back parking lot, boom, you're in the restaurant. So that's been really huge for us, and those are the little things that we look for when we're opening restaurants.
No, that's all great, and a place like this that's unique to a city. Mm-hmm. That's what I think is so important for the health of a city.
Yeah.
So where do the locals go?
Yep.
What are the local spots instead of the same 20 chains that you get in every city?
100%.
What are the unique things about this city and what they have to offer?
Yeah, that was some of our inspiration. We started looking and coming down to Salt Lake City right after we opened Hearth and Hill in Park City almost 6 years ago. So it's been a long time coming. The pandemic put a little bit of a slowdown on it. But part of the reason was because there are a lot of chains here. And they're great. They serve a purpose. People love them. Yeah. I love going to some of them. They're amazing. But we obviously are independent restaurant owners, so we're very proud to be a part of the independent restaurant community, which is truly a great community of all throughout the state of Utah. We're biased towards Park City and Salt Lake City, obviously. And so to be a part of that community, we're really proud about. But how do we grow that independent? Because we truly feel that people that live here want to support those restaurants because they know the money is staying here. The money is going to be invested back into the community. We donate a lot, do a lot of work with the nonprofits, etc. And so that was a big part of it for us, is how do we really represent ourselves as an independent restaurant group. And we also feel like that helps attract a lot of our associates too, that they're not working for some big corporate giant. The ownership group, my dad and I, are in the restaurants on a daily basis. We know everybody by name. We treat them as individuals. We want to know what's going on in their lives, so on and so forth, that they're not going to get from a corporate group.
Totally. There's a difference when the ownership is directly involved in the day-to-day, knows everybody. There's a difference in the feel. And I think even the ownership that employees will take with their roles in the day-to-day operations.
Exactly.
And it's palpable when you walk into a business like that.
Yeah, they're part of the decision-making process. I mean, our directors, our senior leaders, our managers, they're all part of the decision-making process. And we want them to be, because, you know, they're in it day to day. They see what's going on. They hear it. They feel it. And so they're the ones that can help us really make those best decisions.
For you, obviously you manage these other restaurants. When did you know it was the time to start your own? Like, what was the thing where you were like, you know what, I'm ready for this? And I'm sure other things kind of aligned in that moment too.
Yeah.
You had mentioned your dad, you know, was looking for restaurant space, but tell me a bit of that story. How did that kind of start for you? Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't the perfect time, to be honest. I was, you know, working at the Merriman's in Maui. They had offered me the opportunity to become the general manager at the Merriman's in Oahu, which is a brand new restaurant. Like any construction, like even here, it got pushed back. And my dad retired and started looking for restaurants, and was having meetings on a regular basis. And it came to a point that it was like, all right, what am I doing in Hawaii when my dad's living out my dream in Utah?
Sure.
And so that was kind of the point where I was like, you know, in a perfect world, my goal was to open a restaurant, which I'd never done. I'd open a couple hotels, restaurants within the hotels, but an independent restaurant on someone else's dime.
Sure.
With the mentality that I wanted to pretend like it was my own business, which I always had.
Which I'm sure that the owners of those companies really appreciated about you.
Exactly. And we appreciate that too. But yeah, the timing just didn't work. And so I was like, all right, let's, you know what? And my wife was ready to come back to the mainland. You know, she had told Montage that she was committed to 2 years, and, you know, she was ready. So yeah, we came back, and it just aligned and found the right space. And then I would also say, you know, something we're really big on is finding the right landlords. You know, we've signed some LOIs with, you know, more of the corporate landlord, if you will, or, you know, investment company, whatever. And you just don't get the sense that they have your back. You know, it's more of a transaction for them. They're going to probably sell the building in 5, 10, 15 years. And so we've been really lucky, but also, you know, very planned to find landlords that align with us, which are family-based. You know, they're not corporations. They're brothers, or they're in Park City, a dad with 2 sons, very similar to us. And so, like, a great story is a year ago, had a lady drive into Hill's Kitchen in Park City on Valentine's Day, 2 days after my second child, my daughter, was born. I was in the hospital down at Intermountain Murray, got the phone call from our manager. Long story short, it you know, took us about 3 months to get it fixed, but as you do, you know, communicate to the landlord, hey, just want to let you know, we're nearing the end of the process. This is, you know, how much it ended up costing us. This is what we got from insurance. And there was a difference of about $15,000 of what the insurance company ended up paying us out. And we didn't want to go to court. It was going to be too long of a process. Let's just move on. And so we emailed all the facts over to the landlord, and he just wrote back within 30 minutes. He's like, I'll split it with you. Didn't ask for it, nothing. Just wanted to, you know, send him over what happened, the facts, move on. And within about an hour after that email, he showed up with a check in hand. Here you go. And we're like, that's the partnership that, you know, we've always had with him, because he also did a similar thing during the pandemic. But that's what you want. And the same is true here. We actually have 2 brothers that are both involved in this project, as well as our post-district project where Urban Hill is. And that's a key. That's when I just met with a former sous chef of ours that's about to open his own restaurant. And I just said, hey, make sure that you find a space where they have your back, where the landlord is willing to go to bat for you in the worst of times. And you will also do the same for them if ever needed.
That's very cool that you have somebody that, through their experience, is now starting their own, and to still have that support, almost familial support, that you're giving him advice on, or them. I don't know if it's
it's fun to give back.
Give them advice on how to properly open it and things to look out for. Yeah,
I've been grateful for all the advice and thoughts I've received over the years from other restaurateurs, and so if I can do a little part, but I also learn from him and from others. You know, every time I talk I learn from our team members on a regular basis of what's working, what's not working, and how we can get better, how I can get better, so on and so forth.
It's clear to me that you have a really great team, just from the people that I've met and how you talk about all your different associates, people that you work with. One of the roles that I'm sure is a huge decision in starting not just your restaurant, but your Hilltop Hospitality was your culinary coordinator.
Yeah.
And how did you meet them, and how did you know that they were the right fit for that role?
Yeah, finding the right chef is hard. It's even harder in today's world. You know, there's, I think, articles out there that less and less people are wanting to go into the culinary world coming out of the pandemic. We still find a lot of amazing people that we're lucky to have in our company, a part of it. We had a great chef, Jordan Harvey, that opened our company 6 years ago. Jordan has since left us a couple of years ago. And so we took a little bit of a break from having a culinary director. We made a couple offers, didn't find the right one. And so then about a year ago, we said, all right, we're about to open these next 2 restaurants. Like, we got to get back and find someone that can take on that, because myself and our director of operations, Ryan, who's been with us for over 3 years, our bandwidth is just, is not there anymore. And we needed someone else that could really take that type of stuff on. And so honestly, a lot of the great people we found is from connections or just people you used to work with, right? Like Elizabeth. And so Eric Hill, who's our culinary director, has been with us since September. I called up last summer and beginning of summer, June probably. And he'd been up in Big Sky, Montana with his family, and actually been coming down to Utah because his wife's family's from here. And just called him back up. And we had worked together at the Montage in Deer Valley 10 years prior. And it stayed a little bit in touch here and there, but not much.
So you were aware of each other,
yeah.
Knew each other from
And
before.
he was ready to come down to Utah. It was actually perfect timing, just like Elizabeth. And he's got great experience. Had spent time with the restaurant group in Nashville and Charleston for about 7 years after Montage. And we're really lucky to have him. As hard of a worker as you've ever seen. Have to beg him to take time off over the last couple of weeks.
His last name's Hill, so he fits right in with the name.
Exactly. It's a win-win-win all around the
Kismet.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And then you co-own with your dad as well.
Yeah.
What's that experience been like, working with family, but also with his background? How has that influenced the restaurants as well?
Yeah, it's fun. I'm extremely grateful to be a partner with my dad. When he first, brought it up to me years ago, it was humbling to, think that he'd want to involve himself in a career of mine. And, I always had a goal of opening my own restaurant, but I don't think at the time or throughout my early career that it would be with my dad. But I'm extremely grateful it is, because we're very much a yin and yang. I'm the extrovert, very front-facing operations-based. He's the introvert, financial-based. And so we balance exactly, which is what he did his whole life. And so we very much balance each other out, which is great. Especially in the pandemic, I was so lucky to have him on my side during the PPP loans and grants and all the other things that
just looking
were going on.
That's going to work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we ended up helping some other restaurants that, needed a little help of guiding them of how to do those type of applications. But no, it's been awesome. He's my dad. He's my business partner. He's both at a lot of times. He's also funny because he's never worked in the restaurant industry. And so he'll often tell people when he introduces himself, like, oh, I'm Brooks' dad. I'm like, but you're also the co-owner. And he's like, Brooks is the restaurateur. And I'll be like, no, you also are the restaurateur. We own this together. It's fun. And he, really helps the team because he sees things from the guest perspective, which I think sometimes operators get lost of. They just see things from their lens and how, they feel like things should happen. Mm-hmm. And we need to get reminded sometimes to take a step back. And like just the other day, I was sitting down for an interview at a table over here and looking up and be like, oh, we got to fix that or this. And wow, this is a different experience than sitting at that table. And I would never have known that if I didn't sit down at the table and like looked around and see what's going on.
Yeah, almost every seat you can have a different experience. And is there anything weird about any of the experiences that somebody could have?
Yeah, so he gives a great insight to our team members. He still lives in LA with my mom a lot of the time, but they also have a place here in Park City. So he's up a lot, and I think in the next couple of years they'll eventually move up here and spend even more time up here. So excited for that, and just for the insight that he gives to our team.
Yeah, no, that's great. One of the things that I was curious of is obviously now you have several different concepts between your different locations. So for guests that are thinking about coming, if you could kind of run through the locations and similarities and differences between each of them.
Yeah, so chronologically, Hearth and Hill, Park City, the original family-friendly, upscale, casual, lunch and dinner, modern American contemporary cuisine, which we believe American cuisine today is different than it ever has been. It's more encapsulating of cuisines from all around the world. Like ramen is on our menu in Park City. Some would consider that American these days.
Sure. It's a melting pot.
Exactly.
Of culinary.
Yes. Very family friendly up there in Park City. We have a private dining space. All of our restaurants, we like size and scale, so they're all big. I think now between the 5, we have over 24,000 square feet of restaurant space. which can be daunting for some, but,
that's a lot.
We're big on like, if we're going to do it, we're going to go big.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was lunch and dinner, brunch on Saturday and Sunday, and very family friendly, patio in the back during the summertime, free parking. And then right next to it is our Hill's Kitchen bakery, cafe, and catering concept. Just celebrated 3 years old. So we just got to the point of doing catering at Hearth and Hill that was just too much. And so we have a bike shop that we do not own that's in between us. Great couple, Lori and Wandu, Storm Cycle. But Hill's Kitchen open 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. 7 days a week. Everything from fresh baked pastries to breakfast sandwiches, breakfast bowls, pancakes, smoothies, full coffee bar, boba tea, juices, grab and go sandwiches, salads, frozen meals like lasagna, enchiladas, biscuits, etc. And then we do catering for 10 people up to 550 people we've done out of that kitchen.
Yeah.
So a lot of weddings in the summertime, Sundance events, etc. And then our third restaurant was our first Salt Lake restaurant, Hearth and Hill, located in the Post District, which is a 13-acre living development, encapsulates a full city block, 520 apartments, I believe, throughout 8 different buildings. Traeger Grill's headquarters is right there in the development. We were the first retailer to open there just over 2 years ago. Hearth and Hill is our higher-end restaurant. We don't like to use the word fine dining, just because I feel like that's kind of on its way out.
Sure.
Higher end is a little bit more approachable. We still have people like before a hockey or jazz game come in jeans and a t-shirt or with a hat on. Beautiful. It's our largest restaurant, 7,200 square
You're
feet.
not turning anybody away from not wearing a sport coat or...
No, if you were to come in board shorts and a shirt, we might, ask for a change of outfit, but we're very approachable or very, understanding to people's different environments that they have throughout the day. So yeah, that one's dinner only, and then brunch Saturdays and Sundays. 2 private dining rooms there, one for 28, one for 50 guests, full buyouts as well. Beautiful long patio that we open up during the summertime. Our first big wine room in there, so a great wine list, Wine Spectator awarded. And then our James Beard finalist chef, Nick Zacco. So last year, finalist went to Chicago, flew out his parents, his wife, his chef de cuisine, our general manager, our director of operations. We all went out. Unfortunately, in our category, Best Chef Mountain Region, which includes Colorado, Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, and Montana. We lost to a restaurant out of Breckenridge, Colorado. But he's a semifinalist again this year. Not sure when this will air, but on April 2nd, which is next week, we'll find out if he's a finalist for the second straight year and go back to Chicago in June. And no Utah restaurant has ever won a James Beard Award. So again, we're just believers in that if anybody wins, we all win. And just the growth of the Utah dining scene and culinary scene, having lived here now for almost 15 years on and off. When I first moved here, it was sad to hear people talk down about the Utah culinary scene and dining scene. That like, oh yeah, no, and just all the things that people talk about Utah and the food's not good there. But I think as a unit, as a collective industry here, we've all worked together to continue to dial up and brought people in from other states to help us grow. And I think we're at a really great point. And that's part of the reason why we wanted to build these restaurants and bring an architect from outside the state. Because there's a lot of people moving here from Chicago, New York, LA, San Francisco, Las Vegas, etc., that are used to high-end, high-caliber, well-built restaurants, and we want to give them that. We want to be a part of their day-to-day experience, so that they're not like, oh, well, I used to have this in New York. No, you still have it, and you live in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
So those are our 3 concepts. And as mentioned at the beginning, we're first duplicate that we're sitting in Hearth and Hill here in Sugar House, located right on Highland Drive. We're next to Buffalo Wild Wings, across from Whole Foods and Barnes & Noble, right off the highway. And then Hill's Kitchen will be right next to us, opening at the end of April.
Yeah, that's what you were mentioning with bringing, more options, I think, to Salt Lake, to Park City, Utah in general.
Yeah.
I think that also helps elevate competition as well. Because obviously you want to have several options that are great and local options. And that's what we hear as a real estate brokerage.
Yeah.
One of the things people ask, what's around?
Yeah.
What to do? Where do we eat? Where do we get our coffee? All of those things are what people want to know when they're moving here. And so when there's a place like yours, it kind of helps set that bar for then, I think, other people to then create additional options in and around that city.
Yeah, competition is good. Sometimes It makes you have to work a little bit harder, which people naturally are a little lazy at times. So you got to, get out there and get it. But yeah, it keeps you sharp. And we need that from each other. At the end of the day, we all have each other's backs, but we all want to be the best, right? Totally. My dad and I are very competitive. And we have, managers, directors on our team that are very competitive, which is why they're part of our company. Because, when you're a business owner, I think you can relate that, like, you want to be perfect every day. You don't like to fail, but as we tell our teams, we didn't open our restaurants thinking that we were going to be perfect. So we will fail, but we want to shoot for the high bar. We want to shoot to be the best every single day because it's going to benefit everybody.
Yeah.
It's going to bring in more guests, thus make everybody more money, and just keep the world going around.
Well, that's resistance is always a thing that makes you stronger, right?
Yes.
So it's interesting, even like with this location, with the fires and everything.
Yep.
Does that elevate what you've now created?
Yeah.
Despite those setbacks and things that you had to overcome to get there.
Exactly. No, and we've learned a lot along the way. Each restaurant that we've built, the good news with having the silver lining, I should say, not good news, but the silver lining with the fire here is that there's a lot of road construction in front of us on 2100 South Highland.
Absolutely.
So that has all been completed for the most part. But then also we were able to go back and look at the plans again before we started construction and say, okay, what did we learn from Urban Hill, Hearth and Hill, Park City, Hill's Kitchen, Park City? These plans have been kind of sitting in the dust for over a year. Let's take them back out, look at the plans again, and what do we want to change? And so we did change a few things of operationally, that doesn't work well. Let's move this, let's change that, let's do this. And we still, there was something last week where one of our restaurant equipment guys was installing something. He's like, people don't know how to do this. And yes, exactly. And I'm like, well, you know what? We'll learn from it. There was, I think, a floor drain somewhere that we probably didn't need or is too far out. And it's it is what it is.
It's the same in commercial, same in residential.
Yes.
No home or place is ever perfect. There's always something that you're if I was to do this again. But that's cool that you got a second crack at that.
Yeah.
Learn from your other locations and implemented that in the second opportunity here.
Yes, absolutely.
You started getting into a little bit, and I kind of want to just go back to it briefly here, but there's some things that you said, are kind of shifting here in the culinary scene. What have you seen shift most recently, and where do you think it's going here over the next few years? Yeah,
I think the palate of the Utah diner is evolving. Part of that is what I just mentioned, people moving here from other cities and states, which we've always needed. A long-time food writer, and I feel so embarrassed I'm forgetting, from Select Magazine, is sadly no longer with us, but she and I sat down, I remember 5 years ago at Hearth and Hill, Park City, and she's like, will the palate of the average Utah diner ever grow? Because we had a dish there called Korean fried chicken, a little bit spicy. She's like, no one here in Utah is going to be able to really eat this dish. And she was right to some respects, but I think the palate is definitely evolving. People are willing to eat more adventurous foods, and also we're able to get more foods here more consistently. At Urban Hill for just about a year, we had a great sustainable sable fish out of Canada. Unfortunately, they ran basically. They were selling too much and not growing enough, and so they had to take a little break, kind of get their farm, back up. So we should get it
a little bit.
So we should have it back on the menu here in a couple months. But so finding products like that years ago they never would have considered coming to Utah. Well, we're not, Utah. So I think that's part of the evolution, the design as well. Being in the mountains, I think there's always been this mountain feel in a lot of restaurants, and so becoming more modern, more airy here, a lot of light. We've brought a lighting designer in from out of New York for both this property as well as Urban Hill, and so just giving people different experiences which they may not have had here in Utah or other areas. Also, I think the other thing that's evolving is a lot of corporate business here. We've got a great convention center.
And more planned to come.
Exactly. Beautiful airport. I think, one of the few brand new airports in the country. Very easy to get in and out of. Even people that complain about that walk.
That lane out to the B.
Yes.
The B side.
But even with that, I tell people, go to JFK. If you get, on a Delta flight, you land at gate whatever, A65. That's a 20-minute walk minimum to baggage claim. It could be worse. That's the restaurant, solution-minded, different perspective part of me.
Yep.
But
rolling with the punches.
Yes, exactly. But I think that it's fun to see the evolution of this town, and we've got great restaurants that have been here in Salt Lake for decades, and others that are now kind of joining them, and it's fun to see how they all mix together.
One thing that stuck out to me is you mentioned, more adventurous kind of food options and culinary options, and where our state is so based on adventure and like high octane experiences. I think that totally makes sense that would start translating to food and those experiences as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple rapid fire questions for you. What is the dish that you think about the most versus the dish that you eat the most? Because I imagine they will be different.
Great question. Dish I think about the most, probably our burrito tacos at Hearth and Hill in Park City. Growing up in LA, big fan of Mexican food. It's a concept I'd love to do one day, a Mexican restaurant. But yeah, I'd say burrito tacos. I do eat a lot, but which one do I eat the most?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. I do eat a lot of, if there's a dish that's come up, and we have a nightly log that gets sent for every restaurant that kind of says what happened throughout the day. And if there's a trend of a dish for that restaurant that's been like, oh, the guests didn't like it, and then a few days later, the guests, I'll tend to order that dish so then I can experience it and be like, oh, yeah, I can see what the guest is talking about. Or, oh, all right, good, they fixed it. The team has learned from the challenges and made some tweaks to make it better. It still is in it, So I'll usually do a lot of that, but gosh, what do I order the most? That's a really good question. Poke bowl, I would say, in Park City. Breakfast sandwich at Hill's Kitchen in Park City. The Powerberry smoothie I almost order every single day in Hill's Kitchen in Park City. And then Urban Hill, I would say our appetizers, our ravioli, our skillet rolls, our wedge salad there for sure. And then scallops. I really enjoy our scallops there.
I love scallops.
But my 5-year-old, who's a big steak fan, can polish the 8-ounce filet from Urban Hill. He started with salmon when he was younger. We have both salmon and steak on our kids' menus.
Yeah.
To be a little bit different. Which is
not common.
No.
I can't think of one other place that has that.
We still have some of the standards like chicken fingers or butter noodles or whatever, but we also, we're evolving. I think to your question, and so are the kids.
Totally.
And so give them what they want.
No, that's great. There's a couple that you mentioned. I'm like, I'm going to have to give those a whirl. Okay, another one is, what is a dish that is underrated that you think people should be more aware of and willing to try?
Yeah, that's a good question. Oof. What is it? There is a dish. I think our lumpia, which is a Filipino dish, we're very lucky to have 4 Filipino chefs throughout our company. And we really love putting others' favorite dishes, ethnicities, whatever, onto our menus as well. And so lumpia is like a little spring roll. Super good. We now have it at both the Urban Hill and Hearth and Hill here Sugar House menus. Similar but different items. So I would say that. And then also,
so they'll be a little different based on the location that you're at.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that's an underrated
So trying at both locations.
Exactly. Yeah.
Another one that I have for you is the best meal that you've ever had.
Oh, geez.
Whether that's the people you were with or the food or the ambience, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think I was lucky enough to go on honeymoon in South Africa with my wife. We were living in Maui at the time, so when you're living in a beautiful beach destination, you're lucky enough to live there. We love animals, so going on a safari there. And so I'd say at one of the safari lodges, you've got monkeys running around, and there you are enjoying a 3-star meal, 5-star meal, whatever you want to compare it to. So I'd say that one. But also the restaurant Merriman's, where Elizabeth and I met in Hawaii, right on the water. Some of my favorite dishes there, Hawaiian cuisine. It also molds together a lot of different things, but fresh fish and some noodle dishes that I dream about. I still want to put one on the menu here. One day, they only make the noodles in Hawaii, so it's about how do we get the noodles over here, but we'll get there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Last rapid fire question is, if you could have dinner with anyone in history, who would it be?
I'm a huge sports guy, and so massive LA Clippers fan. So I'd probably say someone on the Clippers. It's weird to say this, but I don't necessarily have a favorite Clipper. But someone I used to watch when I was a young kid. I've been a Clippers fan for over 30 years. Eric Piatkowski was a longtime Clipper. So maybe someone like that just they can tell me the struggle. Clippers have never won, so I've always been kind of an underdog. So we kind of take that on somewhat sometimes here in the restaurants of being the underdog and persevering and pushing through and getting through the challenges. But it's also with Urban Hill and now here at Hearth and Hill being near the University of Utah is we're able to combine the two loves of restaurants and sports. We've had a lot of teams that have dined with us at Urban Hill, even my alma mater, University of Denver. We've had the gymnastics team and the basketball team. And so it's fun to combine that. We do some catering for some of the visiting NHL and NBA teams at the arena as well. And
so it seems like we're going to have some more teams coming this way is kind of what's been in the news.
Exactly. So no, it's fun to combine that. But yeah, it's sorry not to give you a 100% direct answer, but yeah.
Well, you did have a name.
Yes.
And that would be the guy that you'd like to sit down with and tell that story.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Brooks, I appreciate your time. It's been great to see your passion for this.
Thank you.
And to learn about Hilltop Hospitality, all of its restaurants, and the people involved here. I mean, honestly, everybody that I've met, super engaging, interactive. So I know that people, if you come, you're going to have a great experience.
Yeah, please say hi if you see me. All of our restaurants have open kitchens. We're big on transparency, openness. I'm always happy to talk about our restaurants, the industry, anything in between with anybody. And it's fun to see it. And my son as well, 5.5-year-old. One of the things that every time we eat in the restaurants is I bring him into the kitchen, into the dish area, and he gives everybody a fist bump just to say thank you. And so just to, continue to build that culture of respect and appreciation, humility. And maybe he'll take it on one day. No pressure, do what he wants to do. But he's at the point now where he's getting to grasp it a little bit more.
He's playing diner at home, but in a much more realistic way, it seems.
Yes, he's playing hockey. The Utah Hockey Club has really inspired him. So he's in hockey lessons once a week up in Park City. But he's hopefully nothing breaking yet at the house.
I met somebody that's building a hockey rink up there recently for kids.
Black Rock, I think, or one of the over closer to Camas. Exactly. Yep.
Well, cool. Once again, thank you.
Yeah.
Any announcements or upcoming events that you'd like to?
We have lots of stuff going on at our different restaurants. Urban Hill, in mid-April, we're going to start a chef series. So our James Beard chef, Nick Zacco, is going to partner for 4 times over the rest of the year with a local chef. So starting out with Chef Brandon from the Post Office Place, which is the sister restaurant of Takashi that everybody knows. So great dinner with him partnering. And then we also have a regional dinner series up at Hearth and Hill, Park City, where we did a Filipino Asian-inspired dinner about 2 months ago. And then in April as well, we'll be doing an Italian-inspired dinner. It's fun to see the different things we have going on.
Is to kind of keep up and aware of each of those, where are the best places for people to maybe check in?
Instagram.
Okay.
The websites or Instagram, either one.
Cool. And we'll link all that up so that you guys have easy access
thank you.
Be able to click on that.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Being a part of it. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Brooks. That wraps up this episode of Salt Lake Local. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe if you like this episode, and we'll keep bringing you the best stories of Salt Lake City.